Hey everyone, my name is Simpsy. How you all doing? Welcome back to some more Hearts of Iron 4 Road to 56 mod here today on the channel. We're back with episode 10 of my Italian campaign. It is 1948 and we're trying to run down and finish off the last of the Allied forces here. We're going to be continuing this save and we're going to be doing so with the invasion of Australia, my home country. So, if you like the sound of that, feel free to leave the video a like and subscribe if you're new. I really much appreciate it. So, unfortunately, we've currently lost our position down in Perth. We managed to take Darwin and most of the Northern Territory. And now we're going to try and push from the west to the east coast. The Japanese are helping us out as well. So, we're still at war with the Allies technically because the US hasn't fallen. Yet no Axis or Imperium Romanum troops have landed anywhere on the contiguous United States. The US Navy is just absolutely crushing any attempt from the east or west coast. So, unless we can somehow find a breakthrough, it looks like it might turn into a stalemate this save, unless the Axis somehow can find a way in. But they are really holding out well. Yeah, just like none of these naval invasions have been successful. I think it's mostly due to not just the strength of the US Navy, but also the fact of the British and the French probably fleeing and uniting together. So we're currently focusing on Australia here, and hopefully we can capitulate them and bring them under Axis or Imperium control. Now, up until the last episode, the majority of this series, we've been actually a part of the Axis forces, but as this war has gone on so much longer, we've decided to cede from Germany and their faction, the Axis, and form our own, Imperium Romanum, with Portugal and some very other Balkan countries as well. We push on to 1947, a year into this conflict into Australia. Nothing's really changed overly too much. New Zealand capitulated ages ago. But the casualty rate for this save is absolutely bonkers. It's ridiculous. There's some still small pockets of Allied resistance up in the Tibetan Plateau. It's been an absolute bloody conflict down in South Africa. The borders have changed quite a bit. And we still have this war goal potentially against the Russian Dominion controlled by the Japanese Parliament. Winston Churchill has taken the entirety of Mexico and now leads the United Kingdom's affairs from Guadalajara. You know, that famous British town. It's interesting that, Mexico decided to side with the Axis powers in this one, and the US was like, yeah, alright, we'll just give all that to the UK. That sounds about right. But still no breakthrough into North America still. Tech-wise, obviously in the early game, we were focusing on manpower and infantry. That's changed a little bit now as we're pushing into nearly the 50s as the war still continues. WW2, that is. And we are getting better quality tanks as well. It's nearly going to get to the point where we're going to need some nuclear reactors. And I'm quite surprised that none of the major powers just yet have dropped any nuclear weapons. Whether it be Fat Man or Little Man, or whatever they're called. Ships-wise, we've focused on mostly battleships and larger tankers now, rather than subs, which I usually prefer to have a lot of, but we lost about 100 of those earlier in the save. Currently sitting at about 35 million manpower as well. We still have naval supremacy in and around the UK and the Med. We are getting a little bit more control in the Atlantic, but it's really around those regional, coastal, Caribbean and coastal US positions where it's really going to matter. Alright, skipping a little bit ahead now. 1950. Rail innovations are coming in. And yeah, the US now not under FDR, under Truman. They're still holding on. And they've actually changed the name of the Allies, which is probably a little bit fitting, I guess. NATO. Oh, I don't know about that. The North Atlantic Treaty. Well, I guess Mexico, and I guess it's more North Atlantic. They're still really trying to hold on to South Africa. I guess that's delaying any push onto the mainland. Here are some of the African countries and Portuguese. So we've got Italian Nigeria, Italian Kenya. That's kind of cool, I guess. Italy, the Arabian Peninsula still under their control. Still those NATO forces now in the Tibetan Plateau. And look at this. We've got a small piece of the Philippines and Australia joining NATO. You know, Australia in the North Atlantic sphere of influence. Because that makes sense. It's funny just seeing NATO there. We're currently in AUKUS now. That's the rave thing in the news. Oh, so the Italians might be able to get the atomic research done in 74 days. I don't even know what NATO equipment we use. We have our own production capacity here, wise. Rifles with the AUGs. I don't reckon we use NATO rounds. I could be wrong. Alright, going for the 1950s Italian tank. It's more than likely going to be a shocking piece of machinery. It will look cool. Very stylish, like a lot of Italian cars and vehicles. But they're going to absolutely break down constantly. And we'll need a serious amount of work tinkering on it. Portuguese Angola is giving us some trade. Yeah, so we're the major power now in Africa and not the Axis. Alright, 1951. Yeah, if it hasn't happened within like 5 years, even with Cuba becoming under Axis control, I don't know if the US is going to fall. They're just too strong. Still projecting their power from North America. Looks like they've really thrown back the South American forces, though. Maybe that's because they're focusing potentially on South Africa. Alright, Western Australia is now fully under our control. And even most of northern Italy. I'm surprised the Central Party here being fascist in Australia didn't actually join the Axis or leave the Commonwealth early. They are fighting for Queen and Country. Well, King and Country now, yeah. Guess it was Queen and Country back then. It is weird that we are currently ruled by a king in Westminster. I'm a subject of the realm. I think we should be a republic. I think I made that position quite clear. Fair few times on YouTube, actually. What do you guys reckon? Should Australia be a republic? Or stay with the Commonwealth? Let me know in the comments. Okay, so Germany's lost 15 mil. How have the Japanese lost 10, I guess? Wow, the Russian Dominions lost 11 million. That's quite a lot. And where is everyone else sort of looking? There's these like small little German territories which I don't understand. The Reichsmarschall. I guess there's like small factions of maybe German commanders and generals wanting their own countries. To some extent. Yeah, because like some of them are in Poland and stuff. Or maybe they're ruling stuff that's not necessarily countries, but stuff that's slightly more sinister, maybe. Oh, they actually retook that. Still more naval invasions there, though. Oh, look at this. Australia might end up falling then. They actually held on for quite a bit. So what's that left? New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia and Tasmania left. As we're pushing into Sydney now. We have air supremacy over the east coast. I love how the only other Axis power is helping us out is the Russians. We cannot allow Free State of Australia. Yes. Okay. Do you see that rocket artillery that the Italians are deploying now as well? I was hearing this whistling of phew, phew, phew. I was like, oh, I haven't heard that before. Those things are absolutely... Hey, look at that. Smashing through the Aussie infantry. Yeah. Like an early HIMAR. An early high mobility, like, rocket artillery on the back of some truck. Alright. Now, I'm curious to see... Oh, we've actually got a lot of battleships now. I'm curious to see what happens in Australia here now. So who sort of gets it? Will it be divided mostly between the Italians and Germans, or what's going to happen? Yeah, because look at this. For some reason, they're not in a state anymore. They're not in the Allies and they're not in NATO. I guess they got kicked out because of their political ideology. Oh, so maybe we're going to be able to just full-on annex it. As Adelaide now is under pressure. The Italians have conquered and stuck a big old flag on Uluru. There's rock. What would the Italians call it? Mount Vesuvius 2. I don't know. Our war support is slightly going down. You think once the... Wait, what? I didn't even know that was a bloody place down here. I didn't know that was an island. How are we navally invading from there? Yeah, once mainland Australia capitulates, you'd imagine Tasmania will follow suit. Unless my fellow Taswegians are going to become full-on partisans or separatists. It should be quite easy to conquer them. Alright. New South Wales has fallen. Like Wales in Britain beforehand. And we finally have the blueprints and the schematics for nuclear bombs. Nice. We've got reactors, but we need to be able to construct them. So what else is there? Power, thermonuclear. Okay. Will it be the Italians to drop the first bomb? Okay, so that gives us naval nuclear capacity. Interesting. So we've got reactors being built in Lazio on the Peninsular mainland. Okay. Yeah, Australia's about to capitulate. Lost 1 million in the end. They did well. Melbourne is still under Australian control. And it's only going to be a matter of time. Took a fair few years. This was nearly a 2 to 3 year campaign. Pushing into God's country. The land of the Southern Cross. There's a naval invasion going through Melbourne. Going straight up through Docklands. Yeah, right. Adelaide is still holding out. Those snobs in Sydney and Canberra capitulated early. The city of churches and Melburnians holding on. How have they not capitulated yet? Oh, yep. I think Tassie's fallen. No, it's the same green. Nah. There's still a naval invasion to go there, though. It's kind of cool, this Australian offensive. Seems like the Axis powers sort of left it off a bit. But this is really the first time we've seen in this series Italian forces use rocket launchers, like high mobility, like HIMARS essentially, yeah. Oh, okay, things are not looking good in the South African front, as they're taking more territory back in sort of former Boer and Rhodesian territory. If we could get some more reactors, that'd be brilliant, because getting a weapon in 90 days would be an issue. We got so many divisions protecting cord mainland Italian territory, which is brilliant. If a war was ever to break out between Imperium Romanum and the Axis, which I don't think it will, but I can't wait to see how the world looks between the Axis and the Allies once we get to 1956. It's been a while since I've got to this stage in a campaign before. To be frank, usually it's wrapped up. The British lasted a decent amount. The French, not so much as always. But the US, 1951, still not bowing to the Axis, and now Imperium Romanum, the Italian forces. Alright, so we're just going to have to surround Melbourne and absolutely pound it with rocket artillery. Seems to have worked as well. And oh, so Italian Australia was puppeted, and the Japanese have taken 2 states. What would have that been? It's like a nice colour. Why is it purple? Oh, so they're just like fully in our faction. Oh, nice. Oh, okay. So the Solomon Empire, right? Because we held that. Oh, right. So technically it was the 2 states which make up East Papua, which is a little bit weird how many times that's changed hands. Obviously German control, World War One. We took it, World War Two. And we's in Australia, not the Italians. Then the Italians held it for a bit. Now the Japanese shogunate have all of it. Cool. Still a little while before we got those weapons coming on in. Alright, 1952. Nothing really hasn't changed too much. Now with the occupation of Australia, I wonder if now the Axis will ever get into the US. I'm curious to see, but we're going to be going to 56. Anyway, time to wrap things up here today. Hope you've enjoyed episode 10. Stay tuned for episode 11, coming out soon. My name is Ben Simpsy. Make sure to take care of yourselves. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. All that jazz. If you want to see more from me, check out the videos on screen. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers.